monastery library in Egypt, 1945. A farmer digging for fertilizer broke open a sealed jar that had been buried for 1,600 years. Inside were 52 texts the church had tried to destroy. Among them was a version of the Lord's Prayer that no Christian alive had ever seen. It contained 3 words. 3 words that appeared in the original Aramaic teaching Jesus gave, but were deliberately removed when the prayer was translated and standardized by the institutional church. Not lost through time, not accidentally mistranslated, strategically deleted. Because these 3 words change everything. They transform the Lord's Prayer from a petition asking God for things into something completely different. A recognition that activates monad consciousness directly. The church could not allow that. A population that could access Source through recognition does not need priests, rituals, or institutions. So, they cut the 3 words, buried the original, and gave humanity a version of the prayer that keeps them dependent instead of sovereign. But the original survived, and tonight, you are going to learn the 3 words that were removed, why the church erased them, and what you must do before you pray to activate what Jesus actually taught. Everyone knows the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses. It has been memorized by billions, recited in churches every Sunday for 2,000 years. The most famous prayer in Christianity. The prayer Jesus himself supposedly taught his disciples when they asked him how to pray. But here is the problem. The version everyone knows is not what Jesus taught. It is not even close to the original Aramaic words he spoke. The Lord's Prayer you learned was created by church councils centuries after Jesus died. It was translated from Aramaic to Greek to Latin to English. And at each stage, words were changed, meanings shifted, and entire phrases were removed, not by accident. The church knew exactly what they were doing. They had access to the original Aramaic text. They knew what Jesus actually said, and they made deliberate choices about what to keep and what to erase. The 3 words that were removed appear in multiple ancient sources: the Gospel of Thomas, the Nag Hammadi texts, and early Aramaic manuscripts that survived outside Roman control. These were not fringe documents. These were the original teachings before the institutional church standardized everything. And when you compare the standardized version to the original, you see immediately why the church made the changes they did. The original does not create dependency. It does not position God as a distant authority. It does not keep people in supplication. The original empowers direct recognition. And that is exactly what had to be erased. The 3 words removed from the Lord's Prayer are, I am within. In the original Aramaic teaching, Jesus did not begin with, Our Father who art in heaven. He began with recognition. I am within the Father within me. Not separate, not distant, not up there while we are down here, unified, one. The church changed this to Our Father who art in heaven for a specific reason. Who art in heaven creates separation, places God externally, makes you a supplicant asking an external authority for things. That structure keeps you dependent on the church as mediator between you and God. But I am within destroys that structure instantly. If you recognize God within you and you within God, there is no separation, no need for external intercession, no requirement for priests or rituals. You access Source directly through recognition of what is already true. These three words, I am within, are the key that activates everything else in the prayer correctly. Without them, the Lord's Prayer becomes begging. With them, it becomes recognition. The difference is everything. The church knew this. That is why early church fathers argued for centuries about how to translate the prayer. The Gnostic Christians wanted to preserve I am within. The institutional Christians fought to remove it. And when Rome made Christianity the state religion, the institutional version won. The three words were cut, and the prayer was rewritten to serve power instead of liberation. But Jesus did not teach petition. He taught recognition, and the three words prove it. When you pray the Lord's Prayer starting with I am within, the entire prayer inverts from asking to recognizing. I am within the Father within me, establishes the foundation, not separate, not reaching towards something external, already unified. The kingdom you are about to reference is not somewhere else. It is here, within, recognizable. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, becomes recognition, not request. The kingdom is not coming in the future. It is here, now, within, waiting to be recognized. Thy will be done is not surrendering to an external authority's plan. It is aligning your localized consciousness with the infinite consciousness that you already are. Not submission, integration. Give us this day our daily bread shifts from petition to acknowledgement. You are not asking an external God to provide. You are recognizing that Source, which is within you, is the provider. The bread is not just physical food. It is the sustenance of recognizing your divine nature daily. The manna that keeps you from forgetting what you are. Forgive us our trespasses becomes irrelevant in its traditional sense. If you are unified with Source, if I am within, there is no sin in the way the church defines it. There is only forgetting, misalignment, believing the illusion of separation. Forgiveness becomes remembering, returning to recognition, not begging for pardon from an angry judge. Lead us not into temptation transforms from a request for external protection to a recognition of inner sovereignty. You are not asking God to keep you from evil. You are recognizing that when you know I am within, temptation loses power. Not because you are being protected, because you are operating from a frequency where lower influences cannot reach you. The entire prayer, when begun with I am within, becomes a recognition practice instead of a supplication ritual. You are not asking, you are remembering. You are not reaching out, you are looking within. And that distinction is why the church had to remove those three words. A population doing recognition practices does not need churches. A population asking external authorities for things does. The institutional church did not form around Jesus' teachings. It formed around controlling access to Jesus' teachings. By the 4th century, when Constantine made Christianity the state religion, the church had a clear agenda. Create a version of Christianity that supported imperial power, not challenged it. The Gnostic Christians who preserved the original I am within teaching were declared heretics. Their texts were burned. Their leaders were executed or exiled. Why? Because Gnostic Christianity taught direct knowing, personal access to Source, recognition of divinity within. All of this made institutional mediation unnecessary. The church councils at Nicaea and beyond systematically removed every teaching that empowered individuals over institutions. The Lord's Prayer was a primary target. It was the most recited prayer spoken daily by millions. If that prayer taught recognition instead of petition, the church's entire power structure would collapse. So they cut "I am within." They replaced it with "Our Father who art in heaven," external, distant, accessible only through proper channels, i.e., the church. They turned the prayer into a tool of control instead of a tool of liberation. The original Aramaic manuscripts that preserved "I am within" were hidden by believers who refused to let the truth die. Some were buried in jars in the Egyptian desert. Some were preserved by secret communities that kept the teachings alive underground. And in 1945, when those texts were discovered at Nag Hammadi, the evidence became undeniable. The church did not accidentally lose the 3 words. They deliberately erased them, and they have never acknowledged it. Even now, with the evidence public, the official church position is that the standardized version is correct, and the Aramaic originals are Gnostic distortions. But the truth is reversed. The Aramaic originals preserve what Jesus taught. The standardized version is the distortion created to serve power. Jesus did not just teach the words of the prayer, he taught what to do before speaking them. The 3-word recognition, "I am within," is not just the start of the prayer. It is the consciousness shift required before the prayer can function as he intended. Here is the exact process Jesus taught for activating the Lord's Prayer correctly. Step 1. Anchor in presence before speaking. Don't launch into the prayer from mental chatter. Don't recite it mechanically from memory. Before you speak a single word, sit in stillness. 5 deep breaths minimum. Let the mind settle. Let the body relax. Let consciousness drop into present awareness. Why? Because if you pray from the thinking mind, you are praying from separation consciousness. The words become empty repetition. But if you pray from presence, from the awareness underneath thought, you are praying from the state where "I am within" is actually true, not just conceptual. Step 2. Recognize "I am within" before continuing. This is critical. Before saying "Our Father" or anything else, speak internally or aloud. I am within the source within me. Not as belief, not as affirmation, as recognition of what is true right now. Feel into it. You are not creating unity with Source. You are recognizing unity that already exists. The awareness reading these words right now, that is consciousness itself. That is the I am. And consciousness is not separate from Source. It is Source aware of itself as this particular point of view. Hold that recognition for at least 30 seconds. Don't rush past it to get to the rest of the prayer. This is the foundation. Everything else builds on this. If you skip this step, you are praying the church's version, not Jesus's. Step 3. Speak the prayer from recognition, not request. Now, begin the prayer. But as you speak each phrase, maintain the recognition of "I am within." You are not asking an external God for things. You are speaking from unified consciousness, recognizing what is already present, aligning the localized self with the infinite self. Thy kingdom come. Recognize the kingdom within, here, now. Thy will be done. Align your will with infinite will, knowing they are not separate. Give us this day our daily bread. Acknowledge Source within as provider. Forgive us. Return to recognition when you have forgotten. Every phrase becomes recognition practice instead of petition. The prayer transforms from religious ritual into consciousness technology. And that is what Jesus intended. That is what the church erased. That is what you are restoring right now. Step 4. End with silence, not Amen. Most people end the prayer with Amen and immediately return to normal consciousness. Don't. After the final words, sit in silence for at least 1 minute. Let the recognition deepen. Let the unified state stabilize. Feel the difference between where you started and where you are now. This silence is where the prayer actually works, not in the speaking, in the recognition that remains after speaking. The church turned prayer into recitation. Jesus taught prayer as state change. The silence proves the state changed. When you pray the Lord's Prayer correctly, starting with I am within, maintaining recognition throughout, ending with silence, several things happen that do not happen with mechanical recitation. First, you will feel the shift. Not believe in it, feel it. There is a tangible difference between praying from separation consciousness, asking external God for things, and praying from unified consciousness, recognizing source within. One feels like reaching out. The other feels like settling in. You will know immediately which one you are doing. Second, the requests stop feeling like requests. When you pray from I am within, the phrases about daily bread, forgiveness, protection don't feel like asking anymore. They feel like acknowledging. You are not hoping God will provide. You are recognizing source as provider. You are not begging for forgiveness. You are remembering your true nature. The energy completely inverts. Third, you will understand why the church removed I am within. Because the moment you experience the prayer from recognition instead of petition, you realize you do not need the church. The direct access Jesus taught becomes obvious. The institutional mediation becomes unnecessary. You are no longer dependent on external authority. That is liberating. And that is exactly what the church could not allow. Fourth, the prayer becomes a portal, not a religious ritual, a consciousness technology. Every time you pray it correctly, you are practicing state change, moving from separation to unity, from thinking to presence, from asking to recognizing. And with repeated practice, that state becomes accessible instantly. You do not need the full prayer anymore. I am within is enough. The recognition activates immediately. Some chosen ones experience this shift the first time they pray with the 3 words restored. They feel something click that never clicked in decades of church prayer. Others need to practice it daily for weeks before the recognition stabilizes. Both are perfect. The process is not about speed, it is about authenticity. Praying from recognition instead of from programming. 3 words. I am within. Removed from the most famous prayer in Christianity to maintain institutional control, but preserved in hidden texts by those who refused to let Jesus' actual teaching die. The Lord's Prayer, everyone knows, is a tool of dependency. It positions God as external, distant, requiring institutional mediation to access. You pray it, hoping God will hear and grant requests. That version serves the church's power structure. It does not serve your awakening. But the Lord's Prayer Jesus taught, beginning with I am within, is a tool of recognition. It positions source as internal, immediate, accessible through direct knowing. You pray it recognizing unity, aligning consciousness, activating what is already present. That version serves awakening. and it makes institutions irrelevant. The church removed the three words because they understood exactly what would happen if people prayed from recognition instead of petition. They would stop needing external authority. They would stop believing in separation. They would stop funding churches. The entire control system would collapse. But now, you have both versions. The church's version that keeps you dependent and Jesus's version that makes you sovereign. Which one you pray is the choice. And that choice determines whether prayer keeps you trapped in separation consciousness or liberates you into recognition. You have been praying the wrong version your entire life. Not because you failed, because you were given a corrupted text and told it was sacred. But now you know the three words exist. I am within. And when you speak them before praying, when you anchor in that recognition before saying anything else, the entire prayer transforms from religious obligation into spiritual technology. The church did not want you to know this. They have spent 2,000 years hiding it. But hidden texts do not stay hidden forever, and chosen ones do not stay controlled forever. The truth resurfaces. The original teaching restores. And those ready to pray from recognition instead of petition finally have the method Jesus actually taught. If you pray the Lord's Prayer tonight, starting with, I am within, if you feel the shift from petition to recognition, comment, I am within below. Tell us what changed when you prayed it correctly, how it felt different from every other time you said this prayer. Your experience might be what another chosen one needs to recognize. The church's version was never the real thing. The three words were removed, but they are restored now. The prayer was corrupted, but it is whole again. The access was blocked, but it is open now. Not someday, not after more seeking. Right now, before you pray, I am within. Speak it first. Recognize it deeply. Then pray. And watch the oldest prayer in Christianity become what it was always meant to be. A doorway, not a petition. Recognition, not request.